Hello and welcome to Castle of Horror, the show dedicated to horror movies and awesomeness. This week we have a look at the 1980 film Alligator. This is episode 426. Bear in mind, if you haven't seen today's movie, we're going to be talking about it from the perspective of horror fans who have seen it. So, warning, spoilers ahead. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, publisher at Castle Bridge Media, home of the Castle of Horror anthology series. With me from Austin is Tony Salvaggio, lead singer and bassist to the band Deserts of Mars, and lead guitarist to the band Rise from Fire. Say hello, Tony.
Howdy.
Howdy. Also in Austin, Mr. Drew Edwards is the writer-creator of the long-running underground comic Halloween Man, which you can find at Global Comics. He is a Best Writer Ringo nominee, Austin Chronicle Best of Austin Award winner, and a member of the PEN America Fellowship. Say hello, Drew.
I'm going to find that alligator and kick its ass.
And finally, also in Denver, color commentary from Julia Guzman of Guzman Immigration of Denver. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Okay, Alligator. What a great name. Alligator is a 1980 American independent horror film directed by Louis Teague, written by John Sayles. It stars Robert Forster, Robin Riker, and Michael Gazzo. It also includes an appearance by actress Sue Lyon in her last screen role. It's set in Chicago, which is where our son lives now. So it's kind of
that is debatable.
No, he really does live there.
Well, no. Whether or not the film is set in Chicago, that is debatable.
Why is it? Isn't it clear that it's set in Chicago?
It is not set in Chicago.
We got a whole list of topics we went over.
That is
this
word
is not
of
a
God
Chicago
from
movie.
the director.
Did not even come up in the
word of God.
Well, let's talk about that. That sounds good. That'll be one of the things we hit on is where does this movie take place? Okay. I thought it was set in Chicago. I don't know why. Watching it, I thought that was what they said. The film follows a police officer and a reptile expert who track an enormous, ravenous, man-eating alligator flushed down the toilet years earlier that is attacking residents after escaping from the city's sewers. What a cool concept. All right. Let's go Julia, Tony, Drew, and then I'll go. Drew, I know this is one of your favorites, so we will be sure and be quick so that you can rant and rave in delight over this film. So, Julia, what are your thoughts on Alligator?
Well, I'll start with the Chicago thing. The reason we think it's set in Chicago is because it opens with the radio thing in 1968 where they're talking about the Democratic convention that's taking place in Chicago and how there's riots and all that. So that's why you get the impression that it's set in Chicago. However, a lot of the license plates are from Missouri, so whatever, which is next, nearby. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. I thought it was a really fun creature feature, very gory, of course, which I, as I always say, don't love, but that's okay. But I thought the cast was good. I really liked the characters, the relationships, and kind of how they, how those evolve. It bothered me to no end that Marissa never finds out that her baby alligator is the alligator that she's researching. Yeah. Drive me crazy. But other than that, it was a good time, and I'm looking forward to discussing it.
Wonderful. Tony, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's great. The cast does a really great job. I think there's a lot to it. There's, it's monster movie. It's also, an urban legend come to life. It has some eco horror with, how when we discover why this could be happening. It's got a lot of stuff going on in it. And this is coming from, again, I told the story, but I've been close to being attacked by an alligator, so I was able
Explain
to
me again how that happened. So, you can go ahead and tell us about that.
Well, I was swimming off a pier in Matagorda, Texas, which is on the coast. The Colorado runs into the ocean basically at some point there, and I never really swam off the pier. There's a pier there by my grandmother's trailer they had, and we'd go fishing, catch crabs off of it. For some reason, my cousin and I decided we were going to swim, and I look over and I see what I thought was like frog eyes or something like that a few feet away, closer than I would like. And I asked my grandmother, I'm like, what is there a frog? Because it's enough of a mix of salt water, like you don't see frogs there, right? So my grandmother goes, oh my God, gosh, it's an alligator. And I swear I felt like I was running on water. But I got there, but it was really stressful because my cousin was still further out than I was.
Mm.
And what's even scarier about this, if you know alligator behavior, is we found out that alligator had a nest like a few piers down. And, their MO is to go, I guess people had seen it around, so it's acclimated enough that I may not have been attacked, but it felt, I don't know.
That's
'Cause,
really
No, it's
shocking.
super
I
No,
guess
that
they
is
nerve-wracking.
speak
very
up.
that is
Yeah.
very scary.
It's
And so,
unfortunate
like,
that your grandmother did not have a flip-flop to scare it away with. Have you seen that, that video? There's this
no.
video of this, like, older lady, with a chanclas, they say in
Oh, yeah,
North
yeah, yeah.
America, flip-flop, and there's alligators, like, crawling up on the shore, and she's just looking at it. She takes off her flip-flop and just starts smacking it against her
Oh,
hand, and
wow,
the
yeah.
alligator takes off.
Well,
Super
had
funny.
it
Alligators are I was gonna say that you probably were safe until you said the thing about the nest because
that's
alligators
what changed
actually,
it for me too.
yeah, like because alligators generally don't see people as food. Crocodiles do,
Hmm.
Right.
but alligators generally do not.
Now,
Um,
so
but
there's
they
an
are
island.
protective of their young.
Sure.
So
Mm.
Yeah, no, that's why, like, when I found that out was like that I felt a little chill. I was
Mhm.
old enough to realize like that would have been really bad. I'd read enough, I was always reading science stuff and animal stuff. Now across the river is an island that they grow some crops and they let animals out to graze. And
Mm.
my stepfather has taken pictures over there. And then one time they were there and they noticed like footprints of an
Mm.
alligator that had probably gotten some of that livestock at some point, but they were, a good 6-inch prints at least. And they went, you know what? We should get off this island. I don't really want to deal with that. Looks really, really big.
Wow.
They never saw it, but they did see where it had kind of pushed stuff down. You could tell there was a large alligator, maybe
Was
not as
there a
large as this
lab
one.
nearby doing experiments?
Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised maybe what they spilled into the Colorado there. But yeah, so I've seen an alligator movie. I was able to get into it. I didn't bring that up too much, but if I've told the story before, apologies for anybody who's listened before. But yeah, I have my own kind of not quite
Sensitivities.
trauma, but definitely
Yeah,
alligator
Mhm.
memories that
mhm.
colored it.
Interesting.
Wow, excellent. Drew, what are your opening thoughts about Alligator?
oh man, I love this movie so much. It is I watch it probably 2 or 3 times a year. It is one of my comfort food movies. I know that's probably strange to some, but this is a I can't remember the first time that I saw this movie. Presumably one of the times that it ran on TV when I was a kid. But there's just something very kind of relaxing about it to me, and like it's a movie that I never get tired of it. It's so just relentlessly entertaining. It's got funny dialogue. I actually I think the special effects are kind of entertaining. Like all Jaws
Mhm.
ripoffs, the mechanical alligator had some problems which we can get into
Hmm.
later, but
And then there's like
the
the miniatures that are so funny.
yeah, with the juvenile alligator, walking, on it, and it's got a great cast. Robert Forster, is of course awesome, but like there's a whole bunch of other awesome character actors on it. I had a big crush on the redheaded herpetologist when I was a kid. So, like just, so much that I like about, I don't even know where to begin and end. We should probably almost just get into it. But
Yeah.
I, full disclosure, I love this movie and I'm glad we're finally talking about it.
So,
That's a good one.
thank you. Well, I'm having so much fun with these crazy. I don't
Creature
know how to
features.
describe it. Animals gone wild, animal rampage, whatever the heck you want. Jaws
Creature on the
ripoffs.
loose.
Yeah, like we're definitely going to do Wolfen, and it's kind of really taking the notion of a Jaws ripoff like way far out there because,
Make
but it doesn't matter to me. It's an
make
excuse. to do wolfing.
Sorry, makes you want to dig out those men's magazines where it's like otters and turtles and just random like platypus or whatever is attacking. Like, I don't know why that started as a trend, but I love those covers so much, especially the really random ones like attacked by turtles, and it's
Oh my
like
God. Yeah. The
dozens
men's,
upon
what are
dozens
these
of
called?
turtles.
Are they called Men's Life?
Well,
Where
yeah, but I think there were 2 or 3 men's magazines I noticed, if I'm not
yes,
mistaken, that
Man's Life. Yeah,
yeah.
and it was like bitten to death by savage snapping turtles. I think that cover also extolled, the dangers and or virtues of love happy women from San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, they're always
Good
this mixed
magazine.
bag, but those covers are iconic. They were later used. I forgot which city it was, but I bought a bunch of CDs that were like compilations from a radio station that would put out these compilation albums, and that's how I first got exposed to those. Is I was like, I'll buy these for cheap. It was a cheapo discs here in Austin back in the day,
Oh yeah,
and
there
they
was.
were
Yeah.
selling them for just a few bucks. So it's like I'll pay a few bucks to get all of these covers, and they reuse them.
Man's Life actually coined the phrase "weasels ripped my flesh." That was they were the ones.
That sounds like some weird hybrid of like this writer and maybe like Jess Franco or something.
I know
So,
it's so wonderful. Yes.
I'm back on the
The actual
love
movie
happy
we're supposed to be
women
discussing?
from San
Yes.
Antonio. Is that an imperative? Like you should love the happy women
Well,
from
I
San
just
Antonio,
found the actual
or are
th
they love happy like hyphenated? Like they're happy with like I don't understand
I will
that
tell you.
headline.
I will share with you the answer to your question. After you've climbed the mountain and asked me, what was the deal with the cover to the May 1957 issue of Man's Life? I have found it. And the actual thing about the turtles, chewed to bits by giant turtles, and it also said San Antonio, home of Texas love happy girls. So
But
that
love
was it.
happy is love happy hyphenated is what I want to know.
Hyphenated, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
like go to
so
San Antonio,
and it
don't get
was
ripped
after a
apart by
colon.
turtles, but you know what could happen.
Yep.
Actually, so it shows this guy, and he's holding this wounded woman up out of the riverbed, and these giant turtles are leaping at him, and he's stabbing at them with a Bowie knife. And it says "chewed to bits by giant turtles." Also, underneath San Antonio, home of Texas love happy girls, which I presume is a different article from the giant turtles, is an article called "Belly Up Dead." I don't know what that is. And next, masculine inadequacies drive women nuts. Man's Life was the best goddamn magazine ever made.
Uh, I mean, I don't know
You
about that, but
definitely
it
have
did have
not
the
made
best
your
covers.
case. You
It
have
did
not
have the
made your
best
case.
covers. But that's what these animal attack like the logical, even though this is before, I mean it's well before 1980, but like the to me those animal attack movies always lead back to the extremely lurid both articles and covers
Yes.
that have no because they get increasingly more bizarre, and that's what I love about
Once
this.
again, weasels ripped my flesh, and that's backed up by sin happy vacationists are overrunning Cape Cod. I
So they really love these hyphenated something happy, like
Yeah.
something hyphen happy. That's like that's their
it just
format.
it just makes
Juxtaposed,
me
Julia, by the very unhappy
By the
nature of their
yeah,
demise on the covers.
by things being shredded and ripped apart and
Yeah.
whatever. Right, right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that we've
You,
deviated
you should be. You
so
really should be.
far in
I will.
literally the first moments of our discussion, once again, of the 1980 film Alligator. Okay, so this film, one of the things that I wanted to bring up early is it's 1980. Okay, so once again, this is a film that's haunted by the deep, like, just cynicism of America in the post Watergate era, the post Vietnam era, because man, oh man, the only people you can trust in here are our two leads, and I guess the cops mean pretty well, but like the mayor is so corrupt that it's almost a joke. And
Oh yeah.
the animal testing stuff, I mean, I know that bad stuff happens in animal testing, but is there is this just another urban legend? What's going on here? The reason that the alligator winds up getting big, spoilers, is that you have people doing animal testing, and they are, first of all, they are testing illegally obtained animals that they are basically stealing off the street. The people doing the tests to create the drugs that'll grow things are paying pet store owners, a corrupt pet store owner, to wander the streets, stealing pets and then selling them, and then they dump the bodies in the sewers. Does anybody, like, that's a deeply cynical thing to believe? Like, I just know that big business is out there stealing pets. Is there any, like, has anybody ever heard anything like that? I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I'm like, that's so
The
crazy. And I
John
just,
Sells, the screenwriter, said that he got that idea from something he read somewhere. Whether or not that was a credible story or not, I don't know. But
I'm not saying it's incredible either, because people get up to
I
some crazy
think
shit, but
I think that it's possible, but the reality is you would canvass like a shelter. Like, look,
right.
you're going to get rid of these animals anyway. Like, let us take them off your hands for.
Yeah.
the dog napping is just the tip of the iceberg
Right.
of this puppy horror show, because, like, to me, the thing that always makes me shudder a little bit is when Robert Forster's character goes to talk to the lead scientist.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, it's remarkably quiet in here." It's like, "Oh, that's because we cut their larynxes
Oh yeah, all
when they
that.
first
Yeah, so
get
they can't
there."
bark.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's so dark
Scumbags.
and so cynical. Like, it's hard to have a good time when they're being this dark. Like, and it's a
And yet here we are.
and
Well,
yet here
especially
we
because
are.
one of
Yeah.
because his dog has gone missing, and the guy seems to
Yeah.
be implying that he might have taken it. So his own dog might have met that fate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
almost like you would want these people to be eaten
Yeah.
by a giant mutated alligator.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. They do have it coming. I mean, the movie sets about, and John Sayles, by the way, I just want to point, I was looking at his resume, and good grief, like, he made Lone Star, which I think is one of the most amazing mysteries ever. Like, ever. The Return of the Secaucus Seven was this guy wrote so many amazing films, and but he also wrote this, and he wrote Piranha. I mean, he was capable of writing all kinds of music. Basically, he wrote Apollo 13, for heaven's sake. So, neat.
Well, and the thing that's kind of cool about him is that even though he's gone on, well, actually, he still with us?
John Sayles, he is alive. Yeah, he's only
Well,
73.
even though he's done more, like, respected movies,
Yeah,
like, when they put out the Blu-ray for this thing, he's on the interview. He seems completely proud of this movie, just like he might be more proud of some of the other stuff he's done. But
sure.
he doesn't seem to have like a snobbery about it, so
I think
that's
it's fair to
respectable.
Yeah, it really is, and I think it's fair to say the movie, the movie only has to hit a few beats to be an acceptable film for you to go and watch in the movie theater. But he's going.
He did Battle Beyond the Stars, man.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, he's a
he's
very
got a lot of stuff.
interesting cat. Like I say, Apollo 13 and Lone Star, like, back to back. That's really wild. But yeah, it's so anyway. I just wanted to note that, in keeping with this being 1980, 5 years after the fall of Saigon, it is just deeply cynical about life in the city. And if you look at, like, this movie, okay, we don't know what city it takes place in, but any big city in the movies at the time was just a really, really tough place to be,
Well,
as
they
prison.
they they you know they ambiguously said it in Missouri, but and
Mm,
as you said, a lot of people think that it's in Chicago. It was filmed in Los Angeles, but
mm,
it supposedly they were going for like an any city USA. What's interesting about this versus all the other movies we've done leading up to
mm,
this is the first one that takes a wild animal and transplants them into an urban setting. Like all the other movies that we've done, the animals, they've been in the woods, they've been in the ocean, they've been pretty much in their natural habitat. This in a way is sort of a new spin on this, because and it's like Tony was saying, I think before we started recording, or maybe he said it in his opening thoughts, that that's something it takes from Piranha, which
Mm,
Sales also wrote. The idea that you have an alligator in a place that it's not supposed to be. It's not in its natural
Right.
habitat, and
yeah.
so that creates a problem. And then of course the animal's size becomes a problem, but
I like
it's a
that there are
two-tier thing.
certain like there are certain things that have to happen in these things, and actually, because I was just about to say like consulting with the anthropologist is something that is that the right word? I'm sorry,
She's a
whoever the
herpetologist.
consulting with the scientist, consulting with an expert, whereas the detective will always kind of stand in for us as far as all that stuff goes because he can ask dumb questions and the scientist can do the thing. But you were explaining before we started recording that there were kind of there are different kinds of creature features and they have different kinds of elements, and that there are certain elements that Jaws ripoffs have that is different from like when we get into the post Jurassic Park era, which curiously both of those, as you pointed out, are spun up by Steven Spielberg. But like, so what are the elements that here it's 5 years after Jaws that a Jaws template movie has to have?
You have certain characters that recur in the Jaws knockoffs. Like you have a authoritarian figure, but as you said, that stands in for us, the Sheriff Brody character.
Yeah.
Then you have a scientist character, and then often you have a crazy hunter,
Mm,
which this movie does have. It doesn't have as he's not as big of a character as like say some of the other movies that like for example the character in Grizzly, but
yeah.
he is there, and for whatever reason, those are the animal attack movie character beats that you see recur a lot. There's also usually a breakdown of authority. This movie might be the most cynical about it,
Mm,
because like for all his faults, I feel like the mayor in Jaws is he's a little bit more understandable. Like in this movie, the mayor is just kind of a feckless moron that is been put in power by this pharmaceutical CEO, but you still have this idea that the authority figures are going to fail, and it's going to come down to a confederation of heroes to hunt down the monster.
yes.
Usually a trio. In this case it's a duo, but the structure's still there. What's interesting about this movie, I think, and it's one of the reasons why I think I like it the best as far as movies of this type, is what you have with the alligator in this movie is that he's kind of eating his way up the class food chain. So there's like a class warfare thing here that isn't necessarily present in some of the other stuff, because it starts with like the blue collar workers and like the policemen, and then it starts eating like the lower classes.
It
It works as
starts with
what.
a scuzzy pet shop owner
Yeah, yeah,
w
yeah. That's the
wearing
first
his
one we
his
see.
unattractive Hawaiian shirt.
When
It's
he's the guy
interesting that
who's kidnapping all the
he's the guy who's
animals
kidnapping the animals. That's right.
and
Yes.
giving them to the lab guy.
Good
But he's
grief.
still sort of represents, he's a working class guy. Like the CEO and the mayor and the scientist, they don't get chomped on until like the last act. And I think again there's that sort of class warfare
Huh.
structure in this that I just find really interesting, especially in the fact that we're now in the Reagan
Yes.
80s.
Well, and because this is kind of an exploitation film, the class warfare stuff is much more crude than because it's there, it's present in Jaws. I mean, but it's it's much more subtle, and I you can use the word loosely, but it's much more subtle in Jaws. There's the
Right.
locals versus the people who come in over the weekend who are tourists, and then there's the tourists that everybody looks down on, who are the ones that bring their own coolers full of beer. Because if you bring a cooler full of beer, you're an asshole because this whole town survives on selling beer. and so it was, and all of that was class stuff that was understood in Jaws. But and there's even the so-called working class hero crap between Quint and Hooper. But that is Spielberg using his like light touch. This one is, yeah, you're right.
Well,
It's loud.
you would never have a little boy in a pirate costume get eaten in a pool
I
That was so awful.
that was
I was like
terrible.
so
Julia, for
shocked
the
by
listener,
that.
would you like to explain what happens in this scene?
Oh my gosh. So, you have like a lot of shocking deaths where just people will just get chomped. But I think the most shocking one is that they say, the alligator has escaped from the sewers, but it's going to be looking for water. And so it managed to, and again, with the urban legends, you're always hearing about alligators in pools. These kids, the people are having a party, and they're dressed up, and these kids are messing with I guess their brother, and they're like going to push him off the plank, of the diving board in their pool. And right as he looks down, as he's about to fall in, he sees the alligator and immediately gets eaten. Like
Yeah.
there's no suspense, there's no like splashing around, there's no trying to get away. He just gets eaten immediately.
well, I
I was
mean
so
that would
shocked
pretty
by
much
that.
be a one
Yeah,
bite job.
I know, but I'm saying, like, usually, there's at least some, like, build up where you think, "Oh, maybe he'll be saved," but no, there was no no kid
There
gonna be
was that
saved.
kid who got eaten, Alex Kinner in Jaws,
I
but it
don't
was
think it's played quite the same though. Like you expect, that goes back into what I was saying earlier. It's like this is an animal that's not in its like for whatever you're going to say about Jaws, the shark is in its environment. Like
yeah.
you expect a shark in the ocean, you don't expect a shark
Alligator in a
or an
pool,
alligator in a pool. And
unless you're in Florida.
that's yeah, unless you're in
No, you're
Florida.
absolutely right, and it's
But
played much more sort of matter of factly and crassly in this
No, it
well,
movie.
was
but also
awful.
kind of tongue in cheek too. Like
Yeah.
there's Jaws is got funny stuff in it, but it's not funny the same
No,
way.
that's played for pure horror in Jaws.
This
Yeah.
has got a sort of EC comics sort of impishness about it that its tongue is very much in its cheek the whole time. Like it's and I don't mean that to its detriment. I think that, stuff like the scene that we're just talking about, if it was played straighter, would just be unbearable.
Yeah.
But because this movie is allowing you to like sort of laugh at it, even as it's kind of grotesque, like it gets away with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like, but it definitely tips the movie over into, what kind of movie you're dealing with here. And it's
There
this
are no
movie
rules.
is,
They've already
yeah,
violated the rules of not, harming dogs because they've killed
right?
Yes.
the dogs and they've had them tortured, and now they're killing little children. So it's like, oh, there's no rules in this movie.
Yeah. Deeply cynical, man. I mean, that is fascinating. Tony, you were going to say
But
something.
yeah, I mean, a couple things. Well, I kind of got a laugh because he's got like a bandana that's similar to Mike Muir from Suicidal Tendencies, like the traditional like blue bandana. So it's like, oh, the alligator all he wanted was a Pepsi, but or to eat a kid. I don't know. That was the dark. Again, we talk about playing that. That was my dark humor while I was watching that scene. But I also, in amongst all that kind of cynicism, it is really fascinating because not only do you have the really corrupt, like the mayor and everybody else is on the payroll of this, almost like arch villain
Yeah.
the CEO. I mean, he's just horrible through and through.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, Robert Forster's character, there's a whole police drama as well that's in this where, it's interesting that his character does what he does. Like he's trying to to be a good cop or as good as cop as possible. He's lost his partner in the past, and that's haunting him.
Yeah.
He's an animal person, and he's a human too, because there's a whole scene that you didn't even have to have where he's lamenting like, "Hey, I'm losing my hair."
Well, apparently that's him.
It's a
Robert
running
Forster
gag.
actually was the one who was
Sure, but
that in.
that's
I thought that was really
that's
funny.
interesting though. That's like grappling with all of that.
No, you're
Well,
Is
right.
he
also
had gotten hair plugs before they
Uh,
started filming, and he said like, look, there's either I could wear a hat through the entire movie, or there's no way that you're not going to notice this, so we should just put some jokes in about this guy losing his hair because it humanizes him
I love that so
anyway.
much. I
It
love it.
does make him feel more like in a movie that is at times as over the top as this movie is. Like, it does make him seem like a completely fully dimensional person.
Yes. Well, and if he's alive in this universe, then it makes it even funnier later on when Henry Silva shows up as whatever the hell Henry Silva is doing.
I do want to get into that. But I
Yes.
also, Forrester's like, again, this like, this Bronson era
Yes.
manly man, because in amongst like, hey, he's back and forth on, what are you doing in this relationship? And then he's also, has a line where he's like, hey, you have nice tits. Like,
Yes.
oh my word. Like, but it's that version of manly man of like
Yes.
cop taking care of,
I
like,
mean, to be
but it also
fair, he said that
humanizes.
after he'd already slept with her. It wasn't like he was
No,
hitting
of
on
course.
Yeah.
But it's all part of that. Like, and she's kind of like, okay, that's fine. Like, there's a dynamic there it's very 1980, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this
Well,
era of him
it
being
helps.
the hero. Yeah.
It helps that she is like an active heroine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she's not.
She's my favorite character. I do want
No,
to talk
she's
about her.
She's
awesome.
cool. Like, she's right there with him, throughout the last half of what I find interesting about her as a character, and again, we can credit the acting, but we can also credit the script, is that she's nowadays I think that there would have been a rush to kind of introduce all the characters. She's not really introduced until like already 20 minutes into the
Well,
movie.
no, she's introduced at the very beginning because she's the little girl.
Well, that is true, but like her as the version that
Yeah.
we get, I guess, and
Well, it snips along. I mean, they go to see her as soon as the attacks start happening, and they think it's an alligator, and so they
But
go,
yeah,
"Let's go see this scientist."
but
I like the elegance.
she's very well developed. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
she's
That's what I was going to say, is that I love that even as a little kid already, when they decide she's going to be the adult character, she already is kind of scientifically minded. And she's just like, the little kid is just like, oh, I'm really fascinated that this alligator has eaten, because they start out with an alligator eating a guy
Yes.
as part of the
Because
like
they go to an
show.
alligator wrestling event at some alligator. I don't even know what
there's a reptile,
preserve.
some kind of reptile farm in
Some
Florida.
Yeah.
and they have this guy waiting around with an alligator, and it bites him on the knee really bad. And the little girl is going, if they turn him over, he might lose consciousness.
Yeah, so
And
she's already fascinated by it. She wants the little baby alligator. Her dad flushes it down the toilet, and nobody ever tells her, and she never finds out in the whole course of the movie. It
yeah,
just made me so angry. I was like, why? That would have been perfect for her to find
Well,
out.
I agree with you, but I wonder how you could have done that,
Well,
because
no,
it's not.
Jason thought it was going to happen when we met the crazy mom. That she was going to be
yes.
like, oh, she's always been obsessed with alligators. She had this little alligator. Of course, her father's flushed down the throat. Like, it could have been real easy
Well,
throwaway line.
she does say that, I had a pet alligator as a kid, but
I
he
know, but she
died.
thought he died. But what I'm saying is the mom knew he didn't die, and so the mom could have
So she
said,
could have said something.
yeah, she could have said
I
something.
think possibly it's one of those things where, because the only reason you have the mom show up is so that can happen. So I think the line is on the cutting room floor somewhere. I think
But
it's in
why?
an earlier
Anyway,
draft, and it just
that
didn't.
was the most annoying thing. But no, but I really like this character because I like that she's not the cynic. She says this alligator couldn't be that big because alligators don't get that big. And then as soon as it's big, she goes, Okay, it's big. Why is it big? Well, let's look at this. Like she doesn't just she doesn't get stuck on her. This is what I think is the truth, and therefore all things must align with that. She actually adjusts her thinking based on what is in front of her. She's like, okay, the facts are that this footprint is huge and that whatever. And so therefore it is huge. Why is it huge? And now she's
Yeah.
going to go through that. I loved that character. I thought
I
she was
also love
really
how take
interesting.
charge she is. Like when
Yeah.
she's on the news and the reporter starts to be like, "Well, there's no way it could possibly be an alligator," and she's like, "No, there's no question about it. It's an
Yeah.
alligator."
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, she's great. I like her a lot.
she is
I really do.
she's very, feels very progressive for like compare her to Jamie Lee Curtis in The Fog, like
No, that's true. Yeah,
like
yeah, you're right. And that's
she's
all
so,
in the
so
writing
multidimensional. Yeah,
because they
it's
could have given Jamie Lee a better character in The Fog, and they just didn't. So this is neat. I mean, I know that we're picking on Sales in a good way here because we know who he is, but it's worth saying he's doing a really good job here. I mean,
well,
he's
look, even her
yeah,
relationship with Robert Forster. Yeah, he's this like macho guy who's like older than her, but like it never feels like unnatural the way
Yeah.
he's older by
like
like 9 years.
yeah.
So I don't even think it's really a thing. I mean,
11. I think it was 11.
oh, it was 11. Okay,
I
well,
mean that's
yeah,
a decent age difference, but
Yeah.
it feels more. I don't know. And I could just be my own prejudice towards the movie. It feels more organic. I mean, maybe it's just that they have good chemistry
Yeah,
with
plenty
each
of
other.
people. Yeah, there's plenty of people
Yeah.
that with that age difference that are couples,
yeah, I
no
can
I mean,
live
problem.
with 11
I
years.
think
That'll
you're
be
right.
okay.
Like that's part of what I was talking about. Is like, yeah, there's this comments stuff like that, but their relationship, and it's over the course of this, not overly long movie. They go through their own ups and downs, and like, he's haunted by things, and it feels in amongst all the alligator, terror. There's
Mm.
actually like a good relationship back and forth
Yes.
going on. It's healthy. That's
Yeah,
cool.
Julia said that. They have this great chemistry, right? You
Yeah.
kind of enjoy seeing them together, really
as,
nice.
as opposed to Henry Silva, who decides that he should mac on the reporter by making alligator grunts, which
Okay,
is just
Tony,
like
explain
so
explain
stupid.
Henry Silva and his character, and if you can't explain Henry
Well,
Silva the actor, that's okay because I
I
don't
mean,
care
Henry
either.
Silva, I like Henry Silva. I mean, there's a lot of great movies with these in all running the gamut of A to Z as far
Yes.
as, but his whole thing is just he's this expert and he's kind of the flip side
I love that
of
you
the
ran
corporate
together.
Bob.
He's this expert, so it sounded like he's the sexpert.
Yes.
Oh well,
He
he
thinks
tries
he's
to
the
be the
expert.
sexpert
He's
because
Yes.
I just he starts out, and you can tell he's there like I'm gonna do this. This is what I'm gonna do about this whole alligator thing, and how I'm gonna solve it. But then he gets interviewed, and he just turns on the animal magnetism
Yes.
by going, well, and then they make, what's weirder is this being 1980, it looks like I don't know if the reporter's trying to humor him, like, oh, please, can I just get out of here?
uh-huh.
Which is I'm sure
Legitimate.
that many women can understand this, like, yeah, I'm just going to smile until I can get the hell away from you
Yeah.
because it's uncomfortable. Or she kind of almost seems into it because he starts, have you heard this alligator sound? Well, this is their
I'm sure if he
call a
does the
mating sound.
alligator mating call shtick to like 10 different women, some of
Oh,
them are
maybe that
gonna be
day.
into it,
Well,
Maybe
he's definitely meant to be boorish because, like,
Yes.
think about
Oh,
the
of
way
course.
he talks to like the local youth that he hires to be his, and
Oh,
that was
he
that's
calls them
the
native.
whole
awful.
thing too.
Yeah, he calls
Hey,
them
hey
native
guys from
guides and everything. Like
Oh
he's
my
meant to
oh
god.
be
man.
he's
No,
meant to be like eye-rollingly bad.
I felt bad
Yeah.
for the actors in that scene because I was like, these guys are probably trained to do Shakespeare, and here's what they ended up having
Yes.
to
Oh
do.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're
So
they
sad.
are once they're on the same they're guys who were on the same streets as the Warriors, but they weren't in a gang, right? That's kind of the era. And he's like, "Hey, I need you to help." And they're like, "Nah, man, we're not we're
But
not
then
going to."
but then he
Like,
like basically says, "Oh, what are you, chicken?" And the guy's like, "Okay." I'm like,
right.
"No." that you were so smart for 2 seconds ago.
I know.
I
No,
just
He
want to
does
take a
make a
moment.
great foil for
he also looks like the way they have him outfitted, like he looks like he came out of like a adventure movie
Like Doc
from like the
Savage or
19
something.
yeah.
yeah.
Like
Yes.
he in the fact that it's 1980 and he's dressed in this like jungle man
Yes.
outfit, like you know they they were deliberately making this guy like, it's not just sort of the stuff that he says and does, like it's just everything about him. It's like,
Yeah.
if the movie's at an 11, this character is going to be a 22.
It's
So
Yeah.
weird, and what
And
crazy
that's kind
choices
of
those
Silva,
are.
though, right? Sorry, Jason, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's kind
What?
of his like
Yes.
Silva. Like you bring him in, he's gonna run with it.
Do you
I
remember that
think that's
the
awesome.
Alamo Drafthouse, Tony, used to run a "Shut Up and Enjoy the Movie" thing that just
Oh
showed
yeah.
Henry Silva putting together a rocket launcher and then blowing up a bunch of
Oh, it's a rifle that has a rocket attachment.
yes,
Yeah,
and
I forget.
and
I'm trying to remember the name of
Am I
that. Yeah.
making up that for some reason Ann Richards also had a gun at some point in that thing?
She was in one of those where
Yeah.
Lars phones, and I think that's on YouTube. There's a Alamo PSA where
That's awesome.
basically she gets called in to be an enforcer for no talking, and that was actually really great. For some reason,
Yeah.
Lars also it has this like kind of turban like hippie swami costume. It's just so bizarre, but yeah, I think that's on YouTube. We'll have to post that.
Henry
I
Silva.
think
Yeah, go ahead.
Silva
Sorry.
actually has my favorite death scene in this movie, because like they literally
Has to
just
like
kind of
crawl.
show him.
He has to crawl into the
Yeah, he's
the
like being
alligator.
slowly like as the alligator slowly kind of slurps him up.
Yes,
It's
but I
But
think
it's
that's a
like
wink
fully
also at
fully him like scooching himself
well, I
into
think or being yanked, but
or
yes.
being
But
pulled.
bear in mind, that's when it makes the most sense. Like Pauline Kael made this big deal in her review of Jaws about how annoyed she was by the Quint character. She was like, this guy with his masculine bullshit, and he gets what's coming to him when he gets bitten in half by the shark at the end. And spoilers for Jaws. I'm sorry, everybody. And and this is the same thing. He's the Quint character. He doesn't ever join the other two. He doesn't become a pal to them, and he gets
There's no time.
unfriended.
No, this movie makes such quick work of getting people eaten. Like there is no time for him to join anybody because he pretty much gets
well,
introduced, and then in the next scene he's killed. Same thing
would
with
they have really wanted him to be part of their team? Like I
You
can
can pull
only.
off anything. In theory, you could.
But
I
they
mean,
they
but yeah,
immediately on meeting him are kind of like, who's this schmuck?
repulsed. Yes.
Like,
Yeah. No, you're right. By the
By
way,
the
he
way,
played the. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
that
ahead.
Henry Silva movie is The Boss.
Ah, yeah, he did all these Italian like gangster crime films. By the way, I have a Pandora station that is almost nothing but Italian gangster movie music, and it is to die for. It is just like it is. I can go for weeks on end listening to nothing but like music from the Boss and stuff like that. That's why Julia doesn't ever come around when I'm playing music. And so anyway, all right. So
we haven't even
alligators.
talked about his poor second the partner that he has at the beginning of the movie that also
Yes.
gets eaten up. Poor
Kelly,
guy.
poor Kelly, who they
Yeah.
actually give a lot of time and conversation. And I mean, so that's the other thing. This movie surprises you a lot. And
Yeah.
that one, Perry Lang plays Kelly, Officer Kelly, who they give so much time to that there ain't no way that he's not going to make it to at least the last act. And oh my God, I was
Nope.
shocked that he didn't make it.
Well, but I tell you, he did last a little longer than it looked like he was going to, because for a minute you think he's gotten eaten, and it turns out he's just messing with him, like he's just
Yes.
hiding, and then he like gooses him. Super
Yes.
funny.
Yeah. I mean, the annoying thing is that means really the only people who stick around from the beginning to the end that you're following are
The couple.
Forster and Robin Riker.
and
And
his boss, who looks like Chief Dolan from The Spirit.
I did not know that. I'll have to
He looks just. I don't know if it was intentional. He just looks like him. Like the police chief in this movie.
That is so funny. It's Michael Gazzo is that guy's name, and he was in The Godfather and other stuff. He has that very distinct voice that just is ravaged by whatever the hell it's ravaged by. And then, so you got those guys, and then you got the super bad guys, and everybody else just sort of gets introduced and dispatched in like
The
within
wedding
3 films.
massacre was just something else.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There's so
That's
many
that's what
people get killed in that scene.
not only is that scene great for racking up a hellacious body count, I love the scene leading into it where you have the Mr. Big pharmaceutical character talking like he's grilling steaks and talking to like I guess his trophy wife and the
Right.
mayor, and the mayor just kind of keeps absent-mindedly repeating stuff like he's like hickory. You
And
know?
he keeps
Yeah.
glaring at him like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah, it's so and like you get the like it's such a brief thing, but you really get the sense that
The
is their
dynamic.
relation there.
He's
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
disgusting. And
100%.
But it's great too because you can tell it's like what led into this. You want to know how to make good steaks, Mr. Like, sure you do. Let me tell you how to make good steak. I'm the expert at everything. He's that guy. Like you meet those people and you're just like, oh god, no. Like how long that? But because there's that weird relationship, he's got to
Yeah.
stick around. And this is guy, yeah. Some people will say you get your best steaks here, but I go to this place. That's my butcher. You want me to tell? I'll give you the number. Like soak it in
Oh my
wine,
God.
soak it in. All that stuff is just like, oh my god, he's that guy.
Well, but the look that the corporate guy keeps
No.
giving him of like, why do you exist in the world? And then when the alligator's
Sure.
loose, he like locks himself into his
Oh my
yeah.
God.
The
and won't
payoff.
let the mayor into the car. Was super funny.
That also like for my money, the looking at this as a Jaws ripoff, I feel like the way the mechanical alligator is used in this works better than the way the mechanical shark is used in Jaws. I'm not saying that the mechanical shark isn't better, because they probably had more money, but they cut away judiciously from the like they never linger on the alligator
Right.
so much that like I think it's fairly effective. Like there's a couple of scenes where in the alleyway scene that we were just talking about where you can kind of see some rubberiness to it, but for the most part it's fairly convincing. Like I my only real issue is as I often say, as an enthusiast of fearsome beasts, that the juvenile alligator that they use for the miniature scenes doesn't quite physically match up to the mechanical alligator head that they have. But that's nitpicking.
I
have to say I didn't
enjoy-
even notice that, so that's impressive. That's great.
The more mature alligator has kind of like a dewlap like under its chin, like it'll look a little bit more filled in, like a juvenile alligator has like a thinner neck. And,
right
like that's something only an uber dork like me would nitpick over, but
That's why we have you here.
Yes.
I do like the judicious use of alligator Godzilla tail. Like it's
Yes.
whipping people all
Again,
around.
the wedding massacre. Half of the
Yeah,
people
that's
were
what I'm
just, like,
saying.
thrown
Yes. Are
across the
thrown
So
high
good.
into the air. It is
So
so
funny.
great. Oh my gosh. And I love thinking about these stunt people being launched by some apparatus so that they could be, like waving
We're
their
stunt
arms and
dummies
flying
probably
through
in
the
a lot
air.
of cases. They're just
Well,
dummies.
the way this movie uses stunt people is really clever, because like there's a couple of times where they have like an actual amputee stunt
In the
Yes.
boat. Yes.
That was
Yeah.
fantastic.
There's a boat scene. The military-ish, the SWAT tactic scenes are actually pretty neat in this movie. Like there's one where they are in boats and they're tracking the alligator on the water. There's nothing like this in Jaws. This is a totally citified, different thing, and I love it where they're spotting the alligator and they're trying to circle it and they're
Shooting in
shooting
the
at it
water.
like
Yeah.
crazy and then they get spilled. That is so neat. And the other one that I thought about it once again with 1980 being so close to the end of Vietnam, I was thinking about these tunnel rats being dropped into the sewer with M16s because they're going in to go find this damn thing. And I thought, well, those guys probably already did this in Vietnam, and that was scarier than this, man. I mean, this is at least a sewer, and there's one alligator. I mean, so I was
Although
just
it's
really,
a
I love that detail.
really, really big alligator.
It
Yeah.
is indeed a really, really
But they
big
don't know that.
alligator.
Apparently, all the when they had the SWAT team coming out of the sewer, like to get apparently there were people like bystanders around who thought that they were terrorists and they were like calling the cops
Oh wow.
because it was so
Oh
scary.
man,
It is
that's
so
that's
interesting.
something. All those like
I
shenanigans are fascinating as well, right? Like those are the good tales. Anyway, go ahead, Drew.
I think the the stuff that I wish if they had the budget for it, they didn't. But if they had the budget for it, what I would have loved to have seen a scene of is alligators actually are surprisingly fast on
Mm.
No, this
land.
guy was fast. This character,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
character,
But they never out because the mechanical alligator was so heavy. Like you never really get to see like a good scene of like an alligator galloping, and it's such like a weird. It's like if you've ever seen a picture of it, it's such a weird. And I mean, look, they're still making animal attack movies, so maybe we'll still get the scene in something else. But that is like in my wish list is like a giant galloping alligator and
Yeah,
something.
they're fast. Like it would be interesting. I've never seen it where somebody goes, "I can outrun a," like they're thinking like I'll outrun an alligator, and then oh crap, the
Well,
reality is
yeah. So that was one scene that also bugged me was when he's setting up the dynamite. That alligator is like fully just giving him the time. He's like, okay, I'll just hang out here while you do that because he could have easily eaten him like 4 times in the time it took him to set up the dynamite. I'm like, you
I
should have
think
had this
it's
ready to go well before now.
I think I think it's because he's taking shots at him because
Mm.
like alligators have good body armor. Like it's not actually completely unrealistic that an alligator could shrug off some small arms
Sure.
Mm.
fire,
oh
especially one that's this big. But like it's still gonna think twice. If some dude's like shooting at him, it might be like ho
Sure.
ho.
I can attest to this, by the way, because my grandfather took some shots at that alligator with the pistol that was around.
Wow.
So, and
I
it
love
did
Well,
that
not.
that's the
real
It
life.
just kind of
human.
like dove under. Like it. I thought he was going to hit it, but I think he was trying to just more scare it away. But I will attest that seeing it in actuality,
It's so
you're
interesting.
correct, Drew.
Well, that's the human hubris thing. Like, we
Mm.
because we have guns, and those are our way of like sort of equalizing
Sure.
to animals. But we also fail to realize that you got to get the right shot and the right like I guess the equivalent in this case would be like an elephant running to you, because
Sure.
this is an alligator that's about the size of an elephant.
Exactly.
And something that big, you're going to have to hit like a vital organ. And alligators, again, they have really, really thick skin.
Absolutely. You're
So
gonna have to hit it like as Dirty Harry is fond of noting, a 38 will bounce off of a windshield. And so it's
Um,
entirely possible that at the wrong angle you wouldn't do any damage.
the thing I love though, praising the script again, the thing I love about the dynamite is that it's something that's like set up earlier in the
Yes, it
movie. It's
is.
not just
yeah.
something random. They have
So
that.
cool. Yes, you're
Yeah, they
right.
have that Alice Cooper looking crazy guy come in, and
Good scene. Very good
yeah,
scene.
and
Yeah.
he's got
There's
a he's
nice.
got a bomb, and
Mhm.
that's that. Huh?
I love the suspense of the guy of him being trapped because the stupid woman is on top of the top
Yes.
of the manhole that
Oh
he's supposed
yeah.
to get out of.
So here's a
That was very
question for you,
cynical.
Julia. If would
Uh,
you have wanted a
There's
scene
I
where
gotta
she
hear.
tried to reason with her former
Oh, that would
pet
be really funny.
alligator?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure she would have some sentimental attachment and like some grief about blowing it up, but I don't know that she would think that because she's smart enough to know that you can't just reason with an alligator. So I think it would be more like she would just feel really sad about the whole thing and how it all went down. But yeah, it's an interesting question.
The rubber alligator in this movie, or
Mm.
mechanical alligator, I shouldn't say rubber, but the mechanical alligator that they used in this movie actually ended up as the mascot of the Florida Gators for,
Really?
yeah. So like,
Wow, how fun is that?
so they the scene that we're talking about where they blew it up, they actually, they told the director, like, hey, we have a potential buyer for the alligator, so don't damage it too much because
Huh.
we want to sell it. So and they did end up selling it. It ended up being used by the Florida Gators for almost 15 years.
Wow.
Mm.
So yeah.
That is really cool. That's a neat detail. I did not know that. Wow. All right. Is there anything that we have failed to mention? We
Probably.
talked about,
There's a lot to this film.
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Considering it's like 90 minutes long, and it is pretty packed. But I think probably we can move to our final thoughts, and pick up anything that you want to mention in there. And by the way, it sounds to me like our next film will be Wolfen, which will probably be in a couple weeks. But all right, so let's get our final thoughts. It'll go Julia, Tony, Drew, and I'll go. So, Julia, have we missed anything? Is there anything that you want to mention? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's been a really fun conversation. I really enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed talking about it. Like I said, I think that my favorite thing is the character development, and especially for for the scientist Marissa. And I'm trying to think if there's anything that we didn't mention that I wanted to talk about. The film was supposed to be scored by James Horner, but because there was a strike, he
Mm,
wasn't able to record his score, so they had another composer do it, which I think is interesting that even strikes were affecting stuff back then too. But it holds up pretty well. Even the stuff that's offensive, it's like offensive on purpose. It's not offensive by
mm,
accident, like a lot of things are. So yeah, I thought it was a great choice.
wonderful. Thank you so much. Tony, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing these. This is a really good one. Excellent cast, like we said, and it is just jam packed. It's a animal attacks movie. It's a class war movie. It's a cop drama. It's a relationship drama. I mean, they're packing it big time. And I think all the parts work as far as, I mean, it's probably not going to win an Oscar, but boy, give me, I'll watch tons of this. Like
Yeah,
this is my bag. Like I think everything about it's done well for the, this genre of movie. It's great. I'm really glad we're doing this, and it was a blast.
that's wonderful. Thank you. Drew, what about you?
I love this movie so much. Like I never get tired of watching it. It's a personal favorite. It's definitely, as far as this, I guess, genre goes, it's definitely like my favorite of it's my favorite of Jaws ripoffs. I have a lot of affection for it. I also, if one could be said that you are a fan of a certain type of animal, I am quite a big fan of alligators. So I enjoy it
I'm less of a
just
fan,
well,
but I get it. But I get it.
but
Personal story.
I think that this is a good one to visit while on this topic, and I hope it our discussion of it encourages some people to maybe revisit it, and I'm excited to get into some more of these. So good times.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this whole thing. Like, I've never seen this movie, and the fact of the matter is, even though I watched Jaws many times when it was on TV, I didn't watch any of the other, when animals attack kind of movies. So this is all new experiences for me, and I'm very much enjoying it. So this was fun. And Joy is having a good time with it too. So this has been great. All right, I want to get our endorsements. Like, what have you been watching, listening to, anything that sort of is inspired or that you just wanted to tell other people to watch. So same order, Julia. What do you have to endorse?
Oh gosh, I forgot that I was going to be asked this question, so I wasn't prepared.
Mm.
What did we go see in the
We
movie
can
theater?
come back around to well. Let's see. I watched Anything But You, but
No, but
we watched One Love.
oh yeah. The Bob Marley movie. Yeah, no, I thought that was really good. I really enjoyed. I
And we watched
enjoyed that.
the movie that Meg Tilly wrote, Ordinary Angels, which was
Yeah. Those were the two things that I was thinking of. No, Ordinary Love is really great if
One
you
Love.
enjoy. I mean, what? Oh my God, I'm just combining the two. One Love is really great if you enjoy Bob Marley, and even if you don't, it's a really interesting biopic story. And then Ordinary Angels, same thing. Also based on a true story about a guy whose little daughter needs a kidney transplant or liver transplant?
Liver transplant.
Liver transplant. And she's going to die if she doesn't get it. His wife has died of cancer just before that. And this woman just takes it on herself to basically save this family just because. And it's all based on a true story. Fascinating, really moving story. So yeah, both of those were great. So thanks for helping me.
Excellent. Tony, what about you?
I've got a few things. Hey, Lisa Frankenstein, we went and saw the other day, which I
Yeah.
think Ray and I both agreed that I don't know if we're. I think there's kind of two target audiences. There's like people our age, and then I think it's gonna be. I hope for a bunch of people who are much younger than us, they're Heathers.
No, I can answer
Mm.
this for you.
Like
Kaz, our kid, is the one who told us to go see it,
yes,
and he absolutely loved it, and his partner absolutely loved it. So for
yeah.
sure, we agree that at least our kid, of course, our
Well,
kid is
there's a
our kid.
whole. It
Yeah,
felt like Heather's in the way that when you
yeah,
watch it when you're younger, you're like, yeah, this is subversive, and then when you're older, you're like, wow, he's terrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's different reads. Like we're getting the older read by default because that's where we're
So
at. But I
I
think that
mean,
that's great. It was
Lisa
done really well.
Frankenstein. Like, how would you describe it, Tony, for people who don't know it? Like,
It's a Bride of Frankenstein or Boyfriend's Back would be another one.
mm,
But like
Heather's, Beetlejuice.
Heather's definitely is the tone. Like the tone is Heather's, and it's 80s. Like it's set, it's the music, everything. It's an 80s movie, and they did 80s really well. Also, there's tons of Edward Scissorhands in it as well.
I
Just
I
like
saw. I felt like it had a lot of John Waters in it.
I'm with you. Yeah. And I feel like that is a lot of the cinematography as well. Has a very like a John Waters. There's a lot going on. I think if you like all of that stuff, you're gonna go in and really enjoy it.
yeah.
I also got Shout Factory did a classic tokusatsu collection, and it has things like Prince of Space and Neptune Men, which have been on Mystery Science Theater, but like different versions of those, and everything's cleaned up. I haven't made my way through it. Golden Bat, a bunch called Golden Ninja here, but it's all these classic Japanese films like suit films, tokusatsu stuff, and a lot of that's actually if you don't want to buy the set, which I do say you should, because physical media is, not everybody's going to buy physical media, but you're guaranteed that's always going to be there if you put it on your shelf, supposedly. But they are streaming a lot of the stuff that's on that collection. They actually started streaming it before they sold the Blu-ray set. I also got First Blood in 4K, and that was great to revisit. Kind of before Rambo becomes. I mean, First Blood's such a different movie than what Rambo eventually
Boy,
becomes.
is it, right? Yeah.
And that was cool. Although I will say, buyer beware on that one. It's the 4K looks great, but like the subtitles just are. I don't understand. They're sanitized and they're paraphrased. Like the whole sections are paraphrased. It was really weird. I was watching it late at night. That's why I had subtitles on, and I was just like, how does this happen these days? Like it's in English. People are using it to, if you're hearing impaired, you're going to use those subtitles. I know that that there's a tendency to paraphrase, but like
Mm-hmm.
none of the cursing is in it. And what I eventually turned them off because I was just so annoyed. But the 4K disc looks great. And I haven't revisited, but Criterion put out a 4K Heroic Trio set. And I am super stoked to visit at least Heroic Trio 1. Part 2, The Executioners, is not as good of a movie, unfortunately. But Heroic Trio is pretty amazing movie. And, it goes in and out of print. So a Criterion version of Heroic Trio is definitely in my bag. I can replace my old Long in the Tooth, not as good subtitled DVD set, which is cool. But I would have never thought that would be a movie, like sci-fi-ish martial arts kind of, action movie would be what Criterion would make, much less 4K. And here we are in the glorious 2024. So yeah. And I rewatched Dune 1 in anticipation in 3D, and that was also really cool. So yeah, lots of movie stuff.
Thank you. Let's see. Drew, there you go. What about you?
I have deeply fallen in love with a movie that's on Prime called Dark Harvest, which apparently had a very small theatrical release back in October, and now it's on Prime as a Prime original. It's totally a Halloween movie, so February is kind of a weird place for it. It's the plot is essentially it's the early '60s, and it's in this small town, and each Halloween a creature rises from the cornfield that is named Sawtooth Jack, and
Not the Great Pumpkin.
not the Great Pumpkin, the not so great pumpkin. And the town's teenagers ritualistically have to hunt it down and kill it before it reaches the town church, or the town will have a year of bad crops and things like that. But it's got a lot of references to the band The Misfits, and you have greaser guys ganging up to hunt down a monster with like baseball bats and stuff like that. But it's got this really cool like mid-century vibe to it, but also like it's basically a Misfits song come to life.
That sounds really
So
cool. I have not heard
It
of
looks
this.
really good. Like
I'm hoping that it becomes more of a cult film, because it definitely deserves more of a look. It's got really good creature effects too for the budget, and it's got some twists and turns to it. So like I'm a big fan, and I hope more people take notice of it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Gosh, the only thing that I've watched everything that Julia watched, so I endorse everything that she said. I do want to mention I thought it was so interesting that Ordinary Angels was written by Meg Tilly, who we just talked about a couple weeks ago in Psycho 2, and she was in one of the remakes of Body Snatchers. But uh what I discovered recently that I had not seen probably in 25 years was Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I was just blown away by it. I mean, I know this is not horror, but I just have to say, like, if you're going to see the new Exorcist movie and you catch Ellen Burstyn, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore was one of the movies that sort of that where in which she was a star, about the time, because she did, The Exorcist and then Alice. And I think the most amazing thing about watching it, if you catch it, and it's on a bunch of different services, not even as a rental, I think it's on Prime, is the way that she navigates a world in which men basically can make your life hell with complete impunity, in a way that I don't even quite women would probably disagree with me, but I don't recognize from this world that we're living in 2024. It seems worse. Although Julia, you'd have to watch the movie and tell me, is it in fact worse? I don't know. But I'm just saying her world surrounded by men is nightmarish. And it's really amazing. I mean, Ellen Burstyn just blows me away. And if you watched the television show Alice back when it was on, this is the movie that that show was based on, and yet no two works could be as completely different as Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore and the sitcom Alice.
Yeah,
So
I love the idea that somebody would watch this movie, which I don't remember if I ever saw it, but I don't think so. And then go, you know what would be great is if you just focused on the diner and the waitresses and the son, but make it a comedy. It's
right.
like, wait, what?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow,
I
yeah.
mean, and you get rid of all the abusive drunken assholes that she runs
Yeah.
around with in the movie. Even Chris Christopherson is basically an abusive asshole in that movie. So Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I totally, completely, I know that I made it sound like a downer, but it actually is a lot of fun and I loved it. So there you go. Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh,
Next
by
up.
the way,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Jason. I did
No,
one
please.
thing I forgot is put it on people's radar. I can't remember if I endorsed this before, but Terror Vision is releasing a movie called River, which I saw
Mm.
at Fantastic Fest, which is a time loop movie.
Ah,
And it's based around the end where it keeps looping for some reason, but people can remember what's happened.
awesome.
So they know, and then they'll loop back and they're like, "Hey, were you just outside?" kind of, and they have to figure out what to do within this, as they track down how long that is, and then how they're going to deal with this, and maybe why is this happening. It's set in an inn in Japan. Is from the people, if I'm not mistaken, who did Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes, which I really dig. But there's a Third Window is putting out a Blu-ray, but then Terror Vision here in the States
Mm.
is also putting out a really nice Blu-ray edition with some really nice art. It was one of my favorites from Fantastic Fest. And so look up River from 2023 on the Terror Vision site. We should probably post some links, but I'm really stoked that they're doing this. Terror Vision has some great people behind it, so I really wanted to push that. It's a really charming movie. I think it and Beyond Infinite 2 Minutes are really charming films with time travel element, which I'll watch a ton of that. So
That's wonderful. Thank you very, very much. Okay, and I'll have more to endorse because I'm just now thinking of some things, but I will bring them back next week. Well, actually, the week after next, when we are back to see the fun, like strange night vision having beheading Wolfen. Man, do I love Wolfen. I mean, I can't wait to discuss Wolfen. So that is really gonna be. I'm not even. I know it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not. I am looking forward to talking about Wolfen.
I
So
think that's
that'll
one
be
of those
cool.
movies that I watched with my dad when I was a kid. So
I'm sure there was a period when Wolfen was on like 4 times a week. Like you just could not get away from it, and it was really great.
I
So
just I just am happy to finally settle the score of whether or not it is an animal attack movie or a werewolf movie,
I'm
because
looking
that
forward to that
is
too.
that's a good
uh,
debate.
that is a hotly contested topic among horror movie fans.
Wonderful.
Um,
Cannot wait. That is going to be such a blast. I read the novel when we were in France, like a couple years ago. I picked up the novel at some like used place. I read it and then I left it on a beach somewhere in France. So now somebody else has that novel. So
or a shark has it.
Yeah, or the sea people, the Innsmouth. It's a hit. Whatever, however, or a bunch of vampires have it because, as we know, they congregate on the beach,
well, they would
according
at
to
this
a
one
bunch of
because
the French
this beach
vampire
had a
movies we've seen.
boardwalk. It had like it had a like a Ferris wheel and it
I
had
mean, that
benches and ice
sounds
cream.
like Lost Boys to me.
Yeah. So I left a werewolf book on a bench and I'm sure some
Again, not necessarily a werewolf book. We no spoilers.
Oh my god, I love it. Anyway, yes. So very fun. That's what you get next time. So thank you everybody and be kind to one another and guys, we will talk very soon. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah.